the new god of wickedness, the new gods of wickedness, the new god of wickedness, the new goddess of wickedness, the new goddesses of wickedness, the new goddess of wickedness, the old god of wickedness, the old gods of wickedness, the old god of wickedness, the old goddess of wickedness, the old goddesses of wickedness, the old goddess of wickedness, the greater god of wickedness, the greater gods of wickedness, the greater god of wickedness, the greater goddess of wickedness, the greater goddesses of wickedness, the greater goddess of wickedness, the lesser god of wickedness, the lesser gods of wickedness, the lesser god of wickedness, the lesser goddess of wickedness, the lesser goddesses of wickedness, the lesser goddess of wickedness, the higher god of wickedness, the higher gods of wickedness, the higher god of wickedness, the higher goddess of wickedness, the higher goddesses of wickedness, the higher goddess of wickedness, the lower god of wickedness, the lower gods of wickedness, the lower god of wickedness, the lower goddess of wickedness, the lower goddesses of wickedness, the lower goddess of wickedness, the greater spirit of wickedness, the greater spirits of wickedness, the greater spirit of wickedness, the lesser spirit of wickedness, the lesser spirits of wickedness, the lesser spirit of wickedness, the higher spirit of wickedness, the higher spirits of wickedness, the higher spirit of wickedness, the lower spirit of wickedness, the lower spirits of wickedness, the lower spirit of wickedness, the major god of wickedness, the major gods of wickedness, the major god of wickedness, the major goddess of wickedness, the major goddesses of wickedness, the major goddess of wickedness, the minor god of wickedness, the minor gods of wickedness, the minor god of wickedness, the minor goddess of wickedness, the minor goddesses of wickedness, the minor goddess of wickedness, the superior god of wickedness, the superior gods of wickedness, the superior god of wickedness, the superior goddess of wickedness, the superior goddesses of wickedness, the superior goddess of wickedness, the inferior god of wickedness, the inferior gods of wickedness, the inferior god of wickedness, the inferior goddess of wickedness, the inferior goddesses of wickedness, the inferior goddess of wickedness, the ancestor god of wickedness, the ancestor gods of wickedness, the ancestor god of wickedness, the ancestor goddess of wickedness, the ancestor goddesses of wickedness, the ancestor goddess of wickedness, the ascendant god of wickedness, the ascendant gods of wickedness, the ascendant god of wickedness, the ascendant goddess of wickedness, the ascendant goddesses of wickedness, the ascendant goddess of wickedness, the descendant god of wickedness, the descendant gods of wickedness, the descendant god of wickedness, the descendant goddess of wickedness, the descendant goddesses of wickedness, the descendant goddess of wickedness, the transcendent god of wickedness, the transcendent gods of wickedness, the transcendent god of wickedness, the transcendent goddess of wickedness, the transcendent goddesses of wickedness, the transcendent goddess of wickedness, the past god of wickedness, the past gods of wickedness, the past god of wickedness, the past goddess of wickedness, the past goddesses of wickedness, the past goddess of wickedness, the present god of wickedness, the present gods of wickedness, the present god of wickedness, the present goddess of wickedness, the present goddesses of wickedness, the present goddess of wickedness, the future god of wickedness, the future gods of wickedness, the future god of wickedness, the future goddess of wickedness, the future goddesses of wickedness, the future goddess of wickedness, the authentic god of wickedness, the authentic gods of wickedness, the authentic God of wickedness, the authentic goddess of wickedness, the authentic goddesses of wickedness, the authentic goddess of wickedness, the synthetic god of wickedness, the synthetic gods of wickedness, the synthetic god of wickedness, the synthetic goddess of wickedness, the synthetic goddesses of wickedness, the synthetic goddess of wickedness, the progressive god of wickedness, the progressive gods of wickedness, the progressive god of wickedness, the progressive goddess of wickedness, the progressive goddesses of wickedness, the progressive goddess of wickedness, the regressive god of wickedness, the regressive gods of wickedness, the regressive god of wickedness, the regressive goddess of wickedness, the regressive goddesses of wickedness, the regressive goddess of wickedness, the ordinary god of wickedness, the ordinary gods of wickedness, the ordinary god of wickedness, the ordinary goddess of wickedness, the ordinary goddesses of wickedness, the ordinary goddess of wickedness, the extraordinary god of wickedness, the extraordinary gods of wickedness, the extraordinary god of wickedness, the extraordinary goddess of wickedness, the extraordinary goddesses of wickedness, the extraordinary goddess of wickedness, the static god of wickedness, the static gods of wickedness, the static god of wickedness, the static goddess of wickedness, the static goddesses of wickedness, the static goddess of wickedness, the dynamic god of wickedness, the dynamic gods of wickedness, the dynamic god of wickedness, the dynamic goddess of wickedness, the dynamic goddesses of wickedness, the dynamic goddess of wickedness, the land god of wickedness, the land gods of wickedness, the land god of wickedness, the land goddess of wickedness, the land goddesses of wickedness, the land goddess of wickedness, the sea god of wickedness, the sea gods of wickedness, the sea god of wickedness, the sea goddess of wickedness, the sea goddesses of wickedness, the sea goddess of wickedness, the sky god of wickedness, the sky gods of wickedness, the sky god of wickedness, the sky goddess of wickedness, the sky goddesses of wickedness, the sky goddess of wickedness, the god of wickedness, the gods of wickedness, the god of wickedness, the goddess of wickedness, the goddesses of wickedness, the goddess of wickedness, the half-god of wickedness, the half-gods of wickedness, the half-god of wickedness, the half-goddess of wickedness, the half-goddesses of wickedness, the half-goddess of wickedness, the vessel of wickedness, the vessels of wickedness, the vessel of wickedness, the name of wickedness, the names of wickedness, the name of wickedness, the person of wickedness, the persons of wickedness, the person of wickedness, the persona of wickedness, the personas of wickedness, the persona of wickedness, the personage of wickedness, the personages of wickedness, the personage of wickedness, the personality of wickedness, the personalities of wickedness, the personality of wickedness, the personification of wickedness, the personifications of wickedness, the personification of wickedness, the image of wickedness, the images of wickedness, the image of wickedness, the imagination of wickedness, the imaginations of wickedness, the imagination of wickedness, the belief of wickedness, the beliefs of wickedness, the belief of wickedness, the thought of wickedness, the thoughts of wickedness, the thought of wickedness, the word of wickedness, the words of wickedness, the word of wickedness, the action of wickedness, the actions of wickedness, the action of wickedness, the reaction of wickedness, the reactions of wickedness, the reaction of wickedness, the feeling of wickedness, the feelings of wickedness, the feeling of wickedness, the situation of wickedness, The situations of wickedness. The situation of wickedness. The circumstance of wickedness. The circumstances of wickedness. The circumstance of wickedness. The environment of wickedness. The environments of wickedness. The environment of wickedness. The relationship of wickedness. The relationships of wickedness. The relationship of wickedness. The number of wickedness. The numbers of wickedness. The number of wickedness. The formula of wickedness. The formulas of wickedness. The formula of wickedness. The equation of wickedness. The equations of wickedness. The equation of wickedness. The theory of wickedness. The theories of wickedness. The theory of wickedness. The symbol of wickedness. The symbols of wickedness. The symbol of wickedness. The color of wickedness. The colors of wickedness. The color of wickedness. The thing of wickedness. The things of wickedness. The thing of wickedness. The way of wickedness. The ways of wickedness. The way of wickedness. The place of wickedness. The places of wickedness. The place of wickedness. The time of wickedness. The times of wickedness. The time of wickedness. The event of wickedness. The events of wickedness. The event of wickedness. The result of wickedness. The results of wickedness. The result of wickedness. The crown of wickedness. The crowns of wickedness. The crown of wickedness. The throne of wickedness. The thrones of wickedness. The throne of wickedness. The wickedness king. The wickedness kings. The wickedness kingdom. The wickedness kingdoms. The wickedness king subject. The wickedness king subjects. The wickedness king's dominion. The wickedness king's dominions. The kingdom of wickedness. The kingdoms of wickedness. The kingdom of wickedness. The wickedness queen. The wickedness queens. The wickedness queendom. The wickedness queendoms. The wickedness queen subject. The wickedness queen subjects. The wickedness queen's dominion. The wickedness queen's dominions. The queendom of wickedness. The queendoms of wickedness. The queendom of wickedness. The wickedness prince. The wickedness princes. The wickedness princedom. The wickedness princedoms. The wickedness prince's subject. The wickedness prince's subjects. The wickedness prince's dominion. The wickedness prince's dominions. The princedom of wickedness. The princedoms of wickedness. The princedom of wickedness. The wickedness princess. The wickedness princesses. The wickedness princessdom. The wickedness princessdoms. The wickedness princess's subject. The wickedness princess's subjects. The wickedness princess's dominion. The wickedness princess's dominions. The princessdom of wickedness. The princessdoms of wickedness. The princessdom of wickedness. The lord of wickedness. The lords of wickedness. The lord of wickedness. The lordess of wickedness. The lordesses of wickedness. The lordess of wickedness. The priest of wickedness. The priests of wickedness. The priest of wickedness. The priestess of wickedness. The priestesses of wickedness. The priestess of wickedness. The ritual of wickedness. The rituals of wickedness. The ritual of wickedness. The shrine of wickedness. The shrines of wickedness. The shrine of wickedness. The temple of wickedness. The temples of wickedness. The temple of wickedness. The leader of wickedness. The leaders of wickedness. The leader of wickedness. The follower of wickedness. The followers of wickedness. The follower of wickedness. The natural substance of wickedness. The natural substances of wickedness. The natural substance of wickedness. The supernatural substance of wickedness. The supernatural substances of wickedness. The supernatural substance of wickedness. The temporal substance of wickedness. the temporal substances of wickedness, the temporal substance of wickedness, the spiritual substance of wickedness, the spiritual substances of wickedness, the spiritual substance of wickedness, the natural form of wickedness, the natural forms of wickedness, the natural form of wickedness, the supernatural form of wickedness, the supernatural forms of wickedness, the supernatural form of wickedness, the temporal form of wickedness, the temporal forms of wickedness, the temporal form of wickedness, the spiritual form of wickedness, the spiritual forms of wickedness, the spiritual form of wickedness, the age of wickedness, the ages of wickedness, the age of wickedness, the era of wickedness, the eras of wickedness, the era of wickedness, the awakener of wickedness, the awakeners of wickedness, the awakener of wickedness, the awakening of wickedness, the awakenings of wickedness, the awakening of wickedness, the realm of wickedness, the realms of wickedness, the realm of wickedness, the dimension of wickedness, the dimensions of wickedness, the dimension of wickedness, the zone of wickedness, the zones of wickedness, the zone of wickedness, the frequency of wickedness, the frequencies of wickedness, the frequency of wickedness, the century of wickedness, the centuries of wickedness, the century of wickedness, the millennium of wickedness, the millenniums of wickedness, the millennium of wickedness, the purpose of wickedness, the purposes of wickedness, the purpose of wickedness, the meaning of wickedness, the meanings of wickedness, the meaning of wickedness, the culture of wickedness, the cultures of wickedness, the culture of wickedness, the demonstrator of wickedness, the demonstrators of wickedness, the demonstrator of wickedness, the demonstration of wickedness, the demonstrations of wickedness, the demonstration of wickedness, the manifester of wickedness, the manifestors of wickedness, the manifester of wickedness, the manifestation of wickedness, the manifestations of wickedness, the manifestation of wickedness, the presence of wickedness, the presences of wickedness, the presence of wickedness, the glow of wickedness, the glows of wickedness, the glow of wickedness, the goal of wickedness, the goals of wickedness, the goal of wickedness, the plan of wickedness, the plans of wickedness, the plan of wickedness, the book of wickedness, the books of wickedness, the book of wickedness, the philosopher of wickedness, the philosophers of wickedness, the philosopher of wickedness, the philosophy of wickedness, the philosophies of wickedness, the philosophy of wickedness, the releaser of wickedness, the releasers of wickedness, the releaser of wickedness, the release of wickedness, the releases of wickedness, the release of wickedness, the variable of wickedness, the variables of wickedness, the variable of wickedness, the cause of wickedness, the causes of wickedness, the cause of wickedness, the effect of wickedness, the effects of wickedness, the effect of wickedness, the journey of wickedness, the journeys of wickedness, the journey of wickedness, the emergence of wickedness, the emergences of wickedness, the emergence of wickedness, the source of wickedness, the sources of wickedness, the source of wickedness, the originator of wickedness, the originators of wickedness, the originator of wickedness, the origin of wickedness, the origins of wickedness, the origin of wickedness, the forefather of wickedness, the forefathers of wickedness, the forefather of wickedness, the foremother of wickedness, the foremothers of wickedness, the foremother of wickedness, the ancestor of wickedness, the ancestors of wickedness, the ancestor of wickedness, the descendant of wickedness, the descendants of wickedness, the descendant of wickedness, the lineage of wickedness, the lineages of wickedness, the lineage of wickedness, the heritage of wickedness, the heritages of wickedness, the heritage of wickedness, the heir of wickedness, the heirs of wickedness, the heir of wickedness, the co-heir of wickedness, the co-heirs of wickedness, the co-heir of wickedness, the joint heir of wickedness, the joint heirs of wickedness, the joint heir of wickedness, the dynasty of wickedness, the dynasties of wickedness, the dynasty of wickedness, the force of wickedness, the forces of wickedness, the force of wickedness, the law of wickedness, the laws of wickedness, the law of wickedness, the pact of wickedness, the pacts of wickedness, the pact of wickedness, the game of wickedness, the games of wickedness, the game of wickedness, the mask of wickedness, the masks of wickedness, the mask of wickedness, the armor of wickedness, the armors of wickedness, the armor of wickedness, the sword of wickedness, the swords of wickedness, the sword of wickedness, the shield of wickedness, the shields of wickedness, the shield of wickedness, the force shield of wickedness, the force shields of wickedness, the force shield of wickedness, the armored force shield of wickedness, the armored force shields of wickedness, the armored force shield of wickedness, the champion of wickedness, the champions of wickedness, the champion of wickedness, the guardian of wickedness, the guardians of wickedness, the guardian of wickedness, the defender of wickedness, the defenders of wickedness, the defender of wickedness, the protector of wickedness, the protectors of wickedness, the protector of wickedness, the chant of wickedness, the chants of wickedness, the chant of wickedness, the shape of wickedness, the shapes of wickedness, the shape of wickedness, the cube of wickedness, the cubes of wickedness, the cube of wickedness, the cuboid of wickedness, the cuboids of wickedness, the cuboid of wickedness, the sphere of wickedness, the spheres of wickedness, the sphere of wickedness, the spheroid of wickedness, the spheroids of wickedness, the spheroid of wickedness, the prism of wickedness, the prisms of wickedness, the prism of wickedness, the pyramid of wickedness, the pyramids of wickedness, the pyramid of wickedness, the cylinder of wickedness, the cylinders of wickedness, the cylinder of wickedness, the cone of wickedness, the cones of wickedness, the cone of wickedness, the triangle of wickedness, the triangles of wickedness, the triangle of wickedness, the circle of wickedness, the circles of wickedness, the circle of wickedness, the semicircle of wickedness, the semicircles of wickedness, the semicircle of wickedness, the square of wickedness, the squares of wickedness, the square of wickedness, the rectangle of wickedness, the rectangles of wickedness, the rectangle of wickedness, the parallelogram of wickedness, the parallelograms of wickedness, the parallelogram of wickedness, the rhombus of wickedness, the rhombuses of wickedness, the rhombus of wickedness, the trapezoid of wickedness, the trapezoids of wickedness, the trapezoid of wickedness, the polygon of wickedness, the polygons of wickedness, the polygon of wickedness, the pentagon of wickedness, the pentagons of wickedness, the pentagon of wickedness, the hexagon of wickedness, the hexagons of wickedness, the hexagon of wickedness, the septagon of wickedness, the septagons of wickedness, the septagon of wickedness, the octagon of wickedness, the octagons of wickedness, the octagon of wickedness, the nonagon of wickedness, the nonagons of wickedness, the nonagon of wickedness, The decagon of wickedness. The decagons of wickedness. The decagon of wickedness. The evolution of wickedness. The evolutions of wickedness. The evolution of wickedness. The revolution of wickedness. The revolutions of wickedness. The revolution of wickedness. The elemental art of wickedness. The elemental arts of wickedness. The elemental art of wickedness. The elemental science of wickedness. The elemental sciences of wickedness. The elemental science of wickedness. The elemental principle of wickedness. The elemental principles of wickedness. The elemental principle of wickedness. The elemental technology of wickedness. The elemental technologies of wickedness. The elemental technology of wickedness. The low elemental art of wickedness. The low elemental arts of wickedness. The low elemental art of wickedness. The low elemental science of wickedness. The low elemental sciences of wickedness. The low elemental science of wickedness. The low elemental principle of wickedness. The low elemental principles of wickedness. The low elemental principle of wickedness. The low elemental technology of wickedness. The low elemental technologies of wickedness. The low elemental technology of wickedness. The high elemental art of wickedness. The high elemental arts of wickedness. The high elemental art of wickedness. The high elemental science of wickedness. The high elemental sciences of wickedness. The high elemental science of wickedness. The high elemental principle of wickedness. The high elemental principles of wickedness. The high elemental principle of wickedness. The high elemental technology of wickedness. The high elemental technologies of wickedness. The high elemental technology of wickedness. The agent of wickedness. The agents of wickedness. The agent of wickedness. The agency of wickedness. The agencies of wickedness. The agency of wickedness. The amplifier of wickedness. The amplifiers of wickedness. The amplifier of wickedness. The amplification of wickedness. The amplifications of wickedness. The amplification of wickedness. The enhancer of wickedness. The enhancers of wickedness. The enhancer of wickedness. The enhancement of wickedness. The enhancements of wickedness. The enhancement of wickedness. The magnifier of wickedness. The magnifiers of wickedness. The magnifier of wickedness. The magnification of wickedness. The magnifications of wickedness. The magnification of wickedness. The influencer of wickedness. The influencers of wickedness. The influencer of wickedness. The influence of wickedness. The influences of wickedness. The influence of wickedness. The emanator of wickedness. The emanators of wickedness. The emanator of wickedness. The emanation of wickedness. The emanations of wickedness. The emanation of wickedness. The converger of wickedness. The convergers of wickedness. The converger of wickedness. The convergence of wickedness. The convergences of wickedness. The convergence of wickedness. The aura of wickedness. The auras of wickedness. The aura of wickedness. The impression of wickedness. The impressions of wickedness. The impression of wickedness. The intelligence of wickedness. The intelligences of wickedness. The intelligence of wickedness. The sophistication of wickedness. The sophistications of wickedness. The sophistication of wickedness. The genius of wickedness. The geniuses of wickedness. The genius of wickedness. The polymath of wickedness. The polymaths of wickedness. The polymath of wickedness. The psychic of wickedness. The psychics of wickedness. The psychic of wickedness. The knowledge of wickedness. The knowledges of wickedness. The knowledge of wickedness. The understanding of wickedness. The understandings of wickedness. The understanding of wickedness. The wisdom of wickedness. The wisdoms of wickedness. The wisdom of wickedness. The secret of wickedness. The secrets of wickedness. The secret of wickedness. The mystery of wickedness. The mysteries of wickedness. The mystery of wickedness. The revelation of wickedness. The revelations of wickedness. The revelation of wickedness. The tactic of wickedness. The tactics of wickedness. The tactic of wickedness. The strategy of wickedness. The strategies of wickedness. The strategy of wickedness. The strength of wickedness. The strengths of wickedness. The strength of wickedness. The might of wickedness. The might of wickedness. The might of wickedness. The power of wickedness. The powers of wickedness. The power of wickedness. The authority of wickedness. The authorities of wickedness. The authority of wickedness. The dominion of wickedness. The dominions of wickedness. The dominion of wickedness. The rhythm of wickedness. The rhythms of wickedness. The rhythm of wickedness. The melody of wickedness. The melodies of wickedness. The melody of wickedness. The music of wickedness. The musics of wickedness. The music of wickedness. The lyric of wickedness. The lyrics of wickedness. The lyric of wickedness. The song of wickedness. The songs of wickedness. The song of wickedness. The dance of wickedness. The dances of wickedness. The dance of wickedness. The spirit of wickedness. The spirits of wickedness. The spirit of wickedness. The soul of wickedness. The souls of wickedness. The soul of wickedness. The body of wickedness. The bodies of wickedness. The body of wickedness. The mark of wickedness. The marks of wickedness. The mark of wickedness. The promise of wickedness. The promises of wickedness. The promise of wickedness. The visionary of wickedness. The visionaries of wickedness. The visionary of wickedness. The vision of wickedness. The visions of wickedness. The vision of wickedness. The picture of wickedness. The pictures of wickedness. The picture of wickedness. The sound of wickedness. The sounds of wickedness. The sound of wickedness. The tongue of wickedness. The tongues of wickedness. The tongue of wickedness. The language of wickedness. The languages of wickedness. The language of wickedness. The communication of wickedness. The communications of wickedness. The communication of wickedness. The people of wickedness. The peoples of wickedness. The people of wickedness. The society of wickedness. The societies of wickedness. The society of wickedness. The fortress of wickedness. The fortresses of wickedness. The fortress of wickedness. The government of wickedness. The governments of wickedness. The government of wickedness. The city of wickedness. The cities of wickedness. The city of wickedness. The nation of wickedness. The nations of wickedness. The nation of wickedness. The civilization of wickedness. The civilizations of wickedness. The civilization of wickedness. The world of wickedness. The worlds of wickedness. The world of wickedness.